Welcome to the sixth episode of Talking Cricket with Akash. Today we're just obviously going to talk about the Australian team and what's going on. And Akash, you've played 6 out of your 10 test matches against Australia. What is going on over there?
Well, a lot of stuff is wrong with the Australian cricket setup right now. They've suspended as many as four cricketers in an unprecedented move just days before the third test match in a series in which they're actually trailing 0-2. It's a very unfamiliar territory as far as Australia is concerned. But then now, when they needed to make the most of their resources, they've gone to the other extreme and thinned them down to bare minimum.
And the issue seems to be that given the circumstances and what exactly has happened with Watson and the four players and everything, that the punishment is just way out of bounds.
Punishment, again, it is all debatable. How harsh it could be or how easy they should have gone with it, I think that can be debated upon. But there are 2 points that are irking me big time. One is what's happening with this Shane Watson issue. He is the vice captain, or at least he was the vice captain of the unit, but he wasn't a part of the leadership group. So if he's good enough to be Clark's deputy, then why was he not considered good enough to be a part of that leadership group? Something is amiss. And two, why make a public show of all this? You want to suspend people, you want to teach them a lesson. There are different ways of doing it. You don't do it in the middle of a series when you're touring abroad. You can tell them in a private meeting, give them an earful, and may also drop them. Don't play them in the next game for all anybody cares. But when you make a public show of it, then I think it gives you a feeling that you're washing dirty linen in public.
Alongside this washing dirty laundry in public factor, there is the added thing that it was a small issue. They were told to write and make a presentation or whatever it was, and they didn't. So, what's the big deal about it? Why ban them?
Well, I don't think it's about the simplicity or the complexity of the task given to the players. I think it's just a simple thing about their involvement or the lack of it. They were asked like just 3 bullet points, not a PPT, not an essay, nothing fancy. They could have communicated the same by sending a text, speaking to the coach, just writing an email or whatever. Just put 3 points down on a piece of paper. So this is not too difficult. And if you fail to do that, I think you are guilty. You got to admit that you haven't really reacted or behaved in the best interest of the team because everyone else is doing it.
But surely, finally, it's how a person performs on the field, and Watson has been performing really well for Australia, even in this series. And Mickey Arthur's been facing a lot of flack because he's trying to make all these presentations, and people are making fun of him, saying, "Oh, someone's not done their homework, and that person's grounded."
Everyone believes that a cricketer should be judged on what they do on the field and not what they do off it. And unfortunately, everyone is gunning for Mickey Arthur. Not one person has actually said a word against Michael Clarke, which I think is grossly unfair because Mickey Arthur may have just pulled the trigger, but the gun was pointed perhaps by Michael Clarke. He's a part of that leadership group and maybe the leader himself. And two, he's the captain. He's also a selector. And two, I also feel that it's not just about on-field performances in this day and age. As professional cricketers, you're paid a huge sum, not just for his playing or for your playing abilities. You are asked to do a lot more things. Yeah, there are things that you have to do which has no connect to your cricketing abilities or your skill set, like appearing in an advert, which are sponsor or board obligations. And you could easily say, "Oh, I don't want to do it," or "You don't do it well." Board is not going to take that lightly, and you may just end up losing your contract. But then it has. You can always criticize, saying that it's not right because it has nothing to do with playing the cover drive correctly or bowling an outswing at the right spot. But a new age international cricketer is a lot more about than just scoring runs and taking wickets, and hence the responsibilities are also a lot more.
Getting back to the Australian debacle right now, obviously, this in itself is a small thing. There are comments where the team management has said that this was a sand in the line or, the straw that broke the camel's back. In your experience, playing alongside the Australian cricketers in the IPL and playing against them in the years that you've played, is there any reason to think that, their commitment may be lacking or they party too much? What really might be behind the scenes here?
The Australians that I have played with or against, all of them have been thorough team men and thorough professionals. they would actually, when you play against them, you feel that they are too arrogant or perhaps a little cocky also. But then when you play alongside them, you get to know a different facet of their personality, which is that they actually go out of their way to help a teammate. They would do everything in their abilities to ensure that their team wins. So when you look at it, or look at this incident from that perspective, just it doesn't add up.
But still, there is something that has gone wrong, and even Watson and Pattinson have agreed that they sort of crossed the line here. Why is it happening? Is Australian cricket on a decline? Is it player behavior that's being put under the spotlight? What's going wrong?
These things do happen because this game is still played by humans, and humans are susceptible to making a few mistakes, and they are guilty at times, and they cross the line. Young individuals, these are all youngsters, just barely out of their teens. You don't know where your career is heading, what's right, what's wrong. Too many opinions. Again, just the heady feeling of playing international cricket. There are lots of things, and then again, the emotional turmoil that you go through as a cricketer. It's a lonely world, so you tend to commit a few mistakes. So these things do happen, but then at an international level, like, you also know that it's an unprecedented event. Four people getting suspended in the middle of a tour didn't happen in the past, and is unlikely to happen in the future too.
On that note, I think we'll end this episode here today, if that's fine with you, Akash, because I don't think we really have time for a hashtag question, and I don't think that we have really run that hashtag thing on Twitter either this time. So that's it for now. Join us for our next episode, which will inevitably be about the Mohali Test match. And keep tweeting with the hashtag Talking Cricket with Akash, and we'll pick up the choicest questions and I'll put them through to Akash Chopra. Enjoy the next test. Chop chops.